Amara was a quiet, smart, and cheerful 15-year-old girl who loved fashion and dreamed of one day working in the fashion industry herself. She lived in Los Angeles with her mother and younger brother. Her father was the famous basketball star Shaquille O'Neal, but she didn't like to make a big deal of it at school or around her friends. She wanted people to know her for who she was, not because of her famous dad. That day after school, Amara and her two best friends, Jasmine and Kayla, decided to visit a popular boutique that had just opened in their neighborhood. It was a sunny afternoon, and the girls were excited to spend some time together exploring the new store. The boutique was known for its expensive designer bags, shoes, and clothes. It was small but very fancy inside. The walls were painted white, and there were mirrors and sparkling lights everywhere. Everything looked perfect, neat, and expensive. The girls walked in quietly, trying to look calm but feeling a little nervous. They weren't used to such high-end stores, but they wanted to see the new styles and maybe try on some accessories just for fun. Amara loved to watch the way the clothes were displayed and how the bags were arranged on the shelves. She admired a beautiful handbag in the corner, a bright red leather bag with gold chains that shimmered under the light. As Amara gently touched the bag to feel its soft texture, the boutique manager, a middle-aged woman named Linda, suddenly appeared behind her. Linda was known for being strict and protective of the store, but nobody had ever seen her so harsh before. Without any warning, Linda grabbed Amara's wrist tightly and said in a sharp voice, "Hey, what do you think you're doing? You can't just touch things like that without asking." Amara was startled. She looked at Linda politely and said, "I'm sorry, I was just looking. I didn't mean to cause any trouble." But Linda wasn't listening. She seemed angry and suspicious. "You're handling the merchandise too roughly. Are you trying to steal something?" she accused loudly. Amara felt her heart pounding in her chest. She shook her head, trying to explain again. "No, I'm not stealing anything. I'm just looking." But Linda's face grew even darker. Without any warning, Linda slapped Amara hard across the face. The sound echoed in the small boutique, and Amara gasped, tears forming in her eyes. The pain was not just physical but also deeply humiliating. The other customers looked away awkwardly, and the two friends froze, not knowing what to do. Amara was confused and hurt. She didn't understand why Linda had treated her this way when she had done nothing wrong. She had always been polite and respectful. But in that moment, it felt like Linda saw her as someone dangerous or untrustworthy just because of the color of her skin. It was a painful reminder of the unfairness that many black people face every day. As Amara stood there crying softly, the store's security guards quickly came over. Instead of helping her, they blocked Jasmine and Kayla from taking out their phones to record the incident. The friends tried to capture what was happening, but the guards pushed them away, saying, "No videos allowed. This is private property." This made the girls feel even more powerless. They wanted to protect Amara, but no one was on their side. Amara, feeling overwhelmed and scared, ran out of the store as fast as she could. Her cheeks burned with the sting of the slap, and her eyes were full of tears. She didn't want anyone else to see her like this. Outside, her mother was waiting because Amara had called her right after the incident. When her mother saw her daughter crying, she immediately hugged her tightly, whispering words of comfort and love. Amara told her mother everything: how Linda had accused her unfairly, how she was slapped, and how the security guards had stopped her friends from recording. Her mother's face showed a mix of anger and sadness. She held Amara's face and said gently, "We will not let this go. This is wrong, and we will stand up for you." When the police arrived to take a report, they asked for Amara's information, including who her parents were. Amara, still trying to stay calm, quietly said, "My father is Shaquille O'Neal." The police officers looked surprised but wrote it down carefully. Amara didn't say it to show off. She said it because she knew her family could help make sure justice was done. After the police left, the family began planning their next steps. Amara's father, Shaq, was away at the time, but the news quickly reached him. When he heard what happened, his heart broke. He loved his daughter more than anything and hated that someone had hurt her and made her feel so small. He immediately booked a flight back home, determined to be with Amara and support her. For Amara, the incident was more than just a painful moment. It was a turning point. She realized that the world could be unfair and harsh, but she also understood the importance of speaking up. She wanted to make sure no other young girl would have to go through what she did. That afternoon at the boutique was a moment filled with fear, pain, and confusion, but it also sparked a fire inside Amara and her family to fight for respect and dignity. What started as a simple visit to a store had now become the beginning of a bigger story, one about courage, justice, and the power of standing up against injustice. Would you like me to continue with next parts in this detailed style? Shaquille O'Neal was in Atlanta when he first heard about what had happened to his daughter, Amara. He was filming a sports segment for a popular television show. The studio was busy, the cameras were rolling, and everything seemed normal. But suddenly his phone buzzed. It was a call from Amara's mother, Nicole. When Shaq saw her name on the screen, he knew something was wrong. Nicole's voice was shaky, filled with worry and sadness, as she explained the situation at the boutique in Los Angeles. Shaq's heart sank. Hearing that Amara had been slapped by a boutique manager because of misunderstanding and suspicion broke something inside him. Shaq took a deep breath. For years, as a basketball player and a public figure, he had faced many challenges. But nothing compared to hearing that his own daughter had been hurt and humiliated in such a cruel way. He quickly wrapped up his work for the day and booked the first flight back to Los Angeles. He didn't want to be away from Amara during such a difficult time. He wanted to see her, hold her, and protect her with everything he had. When Shaq arrived home, he found Amara sitting quietly on the couch, her eyes red from crying. Nicole was there, comforting her. Shaq sat down next to Amara and gently took her hand in his. He looked into her eyes and said, "I'm so sorry this happened to you, baby. No one should ever treat you that way. You're my daughter, and I love you more than anything." Amara's tears began to flow again, but this time they were mixed with relief. She felt safe knowing her father was there for her. Shaq's presence gave her strength she didn't know she had. He listened carefully as she told him the entire story, how the manager had accused her, how she was slapped, and how security stopped her friends from helping her. Shaq's face grew serious and stern. He promised Amara that they would make sure the manager was held accountable and that justice would be served. Shaquille O'Neal was known for being calm and kind, but in moments like these, his protective nature came alive. He had spent his life fighting for fairness on the basketball court, and now he was ready to fight for fairness for his daughter in the real world. He called his legal team and told them to start working immediately. He wanted to file a civil complaint against the boutique and the manager for assault and racial discrimination. At the same time, Shaq reached out to his public relations team. He knew that this story could quickly become public, and he wanted to control the message. The last thing he wanted was for Amara to be hurt even more by rumors or lies. He instructed his team to prepare a statement about the incident, emphasizing that they were seeking justice and respect for Amara. While all this was happening behind closed doors, the news began to spread quietly at first. A witness who had been in the boutique during the incident posted a short message on social media. "That boutique messed with the wrong girl. Her dad is Shaq." The tweet didn't say much, but it caught the attention of many people. Soon, others started sharing it, and the story began to grow. Back at home, Shaq spent a lot of time talking with Amara and Nicole. He wanted to make sure Amara knew she was not alone. He told her stories about the challenges he had faced growing up, times when people had judged him unfairly or treated him badly. He explained that while those moments hurt, They could also make a person stronger. "You have to stand tall, baby," he told her, "and never let anyone take your light away." Shaq also arranged for Amara to meet with a counselor who specialized in helping young people deal with trauma and bullying. He knew the emotional scars from that day would take time to heal. The counselor helped Amara understand her feelings and gave her tools to cope with the pain and anger she sometimes felt. Meanwhile, the legal team was busy gathering evidence. They requested the boutique's security camera footage, hoping it would show exactly what happened. They spoke with witnesses who had been in the store and prepared to file a formal complaint with the police and civil rights organizations. Shaq wanted this case to be about more than just punishment. He wanted it to be about making sure no other child would be treated the same way. Shaq also began using his influence to raise awareness about racial profiling and discrimination. He gave interviews to several news channels, speaking honestly about the pain his family had experienced and the larger issue of racism in everyday life. He urged people to pay attention to how Black children and teens are treated in stores, schools, and other public places. At the same time, Amara's story began to inspire many others who had faced similar experiences. People started sharing their own stories on social media, creating a movement of voices demanding respect and equality. Support poured in for Amara and her family, from celebrities, activists, and ordinary people alike. Through it all, Shaq stayed focused on his daughter. He attended school meetings, met with community leaders, and worked with organizations fighting discrimination. He wanted to turn the pain of that day into something positive, a chance to create real change. Amara, too, found strength she didn't know she had. With her family's love and support, she began to heal. She started speaking out about her experience, first in small groups and then at larger events. Her voice, once quiet, grew stronger with every story she shared. The days after the incident were hard, but they also brought the family closer together. Shaq realized that this was not just a fight for his daughter. It was a fight for all children, who deserved to be treated with kindness and respect. He was ready to stand up, not just as a basketball legend, but as a father, an advocate, and a protector. And so the story of that terrible day at the boutique became the beginning of a new journey, a journey of courage, justice, and hope. Amara, with her father by her side, was no longer just a girl who had been hurt. She was becoming a symbol of strength and change, ready to show the world the power of standing up for what is right. After the incident at the boutique became known, the story spread quickly across the city and then the country. What started as a private family matter soon turned into a public issue that touched the hearts of many people. Social media exploded with comments, videos, and messages about what had happened to Amara. Many people were shocked and angry that a young Black girl could be treated so unfairly and hurt by someone who was supposed to be a professional. The first spark of public attention came from a video that a customer at the boutique had secretly recorded on their phone. Though the footage was shaky and brief, it clearly showed the boutique manager, Linda, raising her hand and slapping Amara, without any real reason. This video was shared widely on platforms like Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Millions of people watched it, and many were horrified by the manager's actions. As the video gained attention, people began sharing their own stories of discrimination and unfair treatment in stores, restaurants, and other public places. The hashtag #JusticeForAmara started trending, and soon it became a rallying cry against racial profiling and injustice. Activists and civil rights groups joined the conversation, demanding that the boutique be held accountable and that stronger protections be put in place to prevent such incidents in the future. News outlets picked up the story. Television channels, newspapers, and online news sites began reporting on the incident in detail. They interviewed Amara's family, legal experts, and activists. Shaquille O'Neal made several public appearances, speaking passionately about how painful it was to see his daughter hurt simply because of the color of her skin. He used his voice and influence to call for change and justice. Inside the boutique, things were chaotic. The company that owned the store faced intense pressure from the public. Customers stopped shopping there, and protests were organized outside the boutique's location. People held signs that said things like, "Stop racial profiling" and "Protect our children." The protesters demanded the immediate removal of the manager, Linda, and a full apology to Amara and her family. Meanwhile, the company began an internal investigation. They reviewed security footage, employee records, and customer complaints. The footage confirmed what everyone saw in the leaked video. Linda had slapped Amara without cause. More than that, the investigation revealed that Linda had a history of complaints related to her treatment of black customers. Previous employees had reported incidents where she made rude or suspicious comments about black shoppers, but the company had not taken strong action before. Despite the evidence, Linda continued to deny that she had done anything wrong. In interviews with the media, she claimed she had felt threatened by Amara and was only trying to protect the store's merchandise. However, her story didn't match the facts shown on camera or the accounts of witnesses. As the investigation continued, the boutique decided to close temporarily. The company announced that they would use the time to train their staff on racial sensitivity, customer service, and how to prevent discrimination. They promised to make changes to ensure that no one else would be treated like Amara again. The public watched closely as the company handled the situation. Many people were skeptical about whether the changes would be real or just a way to calm the anger. Some activists said the company's response was too little, too late. They called for stronger consequences for Linda and for the entire retail industry to take racial discrimination seriously. Shaquille O'Neal did not stop at the legal battle. He used his platform to highlight the wider issue of racial injustice in everyday life. He shared stories from his own childhood, explaining how he had faced unfair treatment and prejudice. He spoke about how those experiences shaped him and how he wanted a better world for his children and future generations. At the same time, Amara began to find her voice. With the support of her family, friends, and community, she started speaking publicly about her experience. She appeared on local TV shows, at school assemblies, and at community centers. She talked about how the incident made her feel scared and hurt, but also gave her strength to fight for justice. Amara's courage inspired many young people who had faced similar challenges. The legal case moved forward. Shaq's lawyers worked hard to build a strong case against the boutique and Linda. They presented the evidence to the police and the courts, demanding that Linda be held responsible for assault and racial discrimination. The case drew national attention, with many people following the trial closely. Throughout the process, Amara remained focused on healing and learning. She continued therapy sessions to deal with the emotional pain caused by the incident. Her family made sure she felt loved and supported every step of the way. They wanted her to know that she was not defined by what had happened, but by her strength and character. The boutique's parent company eventually fired Linda. They issued a public apology, expressing regret for how Amara was treated and promising to do better in the future. The company committed to ongoing training programs and new policies aimed at preventing discrimination. The incident became a powerful example of how one person's courage can lead to change. Amara's story was shared in schools and community groups to teach young people about standing up against injustice. It also sparked conversations about race, fairness, and respect in America. In the end, the public outrage and investigation showed that when people come together to demand justice, real change is possible. Amara and her family's bravery helped shine a light on a problem that many had ignored for too long. Their story reminded everyone that no matter who you are or where you come from, everyone deserves to be treated with dignity and respect. After the public outrage and the company's investigation, the next step was the legal battle. Shaquille O'Neal and his family were determined to make sure that justice was served. They knew that the incident wasn't just about one slap or one person's bad behavior. It was about sending a clear message that racial discrimination and violence would not be tolerated, especially against young black girls like Amara. Shaq's legal team started working right away. They collected all the evidence available: the video footage from the boutique, witness statements, police reports, and the history of complaints against the manager, Linda. The lawyers were prepared to prove that what happened was not only illegal, but also part of a larger pattern of discrimination. They wanted the case to stand as an example that businesses must be responsible for how their employees treat customers. The legal process was not easy. It involved many meetings, discussions, and paperwork. Shaq often attended these meetings to stay involved and support his daughter. He understood that this fight was bigger than the courtroom. It was about protecting Amara's dignity and the rights of others who might face similar discrimination. The boutique's legal team tried to defend their manager. They argued that Linda was protecting the store and that Amara had acted suspiciously. However, the evidence did not support these claims. The security footage clearly showed that Amara was calm and did nothing wrong. The slap was unprovoked and unjustified. As the case moved forward, more people began to speak up about racial profiling and unfair treatment in stores and other public spaces. The media covered the story extensively, interviewing experts on civil rights and social justice. The case became a symbol of the ongoing struggle against racism in everyday life. In court, Shaq's lawyers argued that the boutique and Linda should be held accountable not only for the physical assault, but also for the emotional pain caused to Amara. They explained how the experience had affected her confidence, her feelings of safety, and her trust in others. The court listened carefully, recognizing the seriousness of the situation. The boutique faced not just legal penalties, but also damage to their reputation. Many customers boycotted the store, and other businesses in the same chain began reviewing their own policies and staff training. The incident pushed companies to take discrimination more seriously and improve their practices. Linda was eventually charged with assault and faced the consequences of her actions. The court ordered her to apologize publicly to Amara and to pay fines as part of the punishment. She was also required to attend sensitivity training and community service focused on education about racial discrimination. Throughout the legal process, Shaq remained a strong pillar of support for Amara. He continued to speak out against racism and used his platform to educate people about the importance of respect and equality. His efforts helped keep the spotlight on the issue and encouraged others to stand up for their rights. Amara, though still healing, became more confident as she saw the progress being made. She realized that by sharing her story and standing up for herself, she was helping others who had experienced similar pain. Her courage inspired many young people to speak out and demand fairness. The case also sparked conversations in schools, communities, and workplaces about how to recognize and prevent racial discrimination. People began to understand that it was not just about big events or laws, but about everyday actions and attitudes. The incident with Amara showed that even small moments could cause deep harm, and that everyone has a role in creating a more just society. As the legal action came to a close, the family felt a sense of accomplishment. Justice had been served, and Amara's story had made a difference. But they also knew that the fight against racism was ongoing. They remained committed to working for change and supporting those who faced discrimination. The boutique's promise to improve was a step in the right direction. They started new training programs for employees, focusing on empathy, respect, and cultural awareness. Managers were held to higher standards, and customers were encouraged to report any unfair treatment. These changes aimed to create safer and more welcoming spaces for everyone. Shaquille O'Neal's involvement in the case brought attention to the importance of family support during difficult times. Amara's strength came not only from her own courage, but also from knowing that her parents were standing by her side. Their love and protection helped her face the challenges with confidence. In the end, the legal battle was more than just a fight in court. It became a story of hope, resilience, and change. Amara's experience reminded everyone that injustice must be confronted, and that voices raised together can bring about real progress. The family's determination showed that, even when faced with hardship, standing up for what is right can lead to a better future for all. After the legal battle ended and justice was served, life for Amara and her family began to change in many ways. The incident that had started as a painful moment grew into something much bigger, a story about courage, change, and hope. Amara's experience had brought attention to an important problem, and it also sparked a wave of healing and growth, both for her personally and for the community around her. At first, the days following the court's decision were filled with a mix of relief and reflection for Amara. She had endured a lot: fear, confusion, and hurt, and now she was finally seeing the result of standing up for herself. The support she received from her family, friends, and even strangers gave her strength. But healing was not instant. Amara continued to work with counselors to process her emotions and rebuild her sense of safety. Talking about what happened helped her release the pain and turn it into something positive. The experience also helped Amara grow stronger inside. She began to understand that she was more than what had happened to her. She learned that even when people treat you unfairly, your worth is not determined by their actions, but by who you are. This realization was empowering. Amara started participating in community events and school programs that focused on anti-racism and equality. She became a young voice for change, inspiring others with her story. Shaquille O'Neal was proud of his daughter. He had always known she was special, but watching her face such challenges with bravery made him admire her even more. As a father, he continued to support her in every way possible. He also used his platform to keep the conversation about racial justice alive. His involvement helped make sure that Amara's story was not forgotten and that people kept learning from it. The community around Amara also felt the impact of the incident. Many people who had remained silent about their own experiences of discrimination found courage to speak up. Local schools began hosting workshops on diversity, inclusion, and respect. Teachers, parents, and students worked together to create environments where everyone felt safe and valued. These changes were small but meaningful steps toward a more understanding and fair society. The boutique where the incident happened underwent major changes too. After firing the manager and facing public backlash, the company committed to making their stores more welcoming to all customers. They hired diversity consultants to train their staff and revised their policies to prevent discrimination. These actions showed that businesses could learn from their mistakes and work to do better. In addition to the boutique's changes, the incident sparked broader discussions about racism in everyday life. News stories and talk shows explored how common racial profiling was and what could be done to stop it. People realized that these problems weren't just about big events or protests, but also about small moments in shops, schools, and streets that affect people's lives every day. Amara's story reached far beyond her neighborhood. It inspired people across the country and even around the world to reflect on how they treat others. Many young people connected with Amara's courage and began sharing their own experiences. The movement to end racial discrimination gained new energy and support. The incident also encouraged many organizations and companies to look at their own practices. They started asking difficult questions about fairness and respect. Training programs about unconscious bias and cultural awareness became more common. People learned to recognize their own prejudices and work to overcome them. This shift was a slow process, but Amara's story helped push it forward. On a personal level, Amara found new passions and goals. Inspired by her experience, she dreamed of becoming a lawyer or an activist to help others who face injustice. She wanted to use her voice to make sure no one else would have to go through what she did. Her family supported her ambitions, proud to see how she turned a difficult chapter of her life into a source of hope for the future. The media continued to follow Amara's journey. Documentaries, interviews, and articles highlighted how a single act of courage could lead to meaningful change. People saw that fighting against injustice was not just about anger or punishment, but about building understanding and respect. Amara became a symbol of resilience, hope, and the power of standing up for what is right. At the same time, the incident reminded everyone that the fight against racism is ongoing. It is not something that ends with one court case or one apology. Instead, it is a continuous effort to recognize bias, challenge unfairness, and promote kindness. Amara's story showed that even young people can be powerful agents of change, inspiring communities to work together for a better world. The family remained close and strong. They often spoke about the importance of love, unity, and speaking out against wrongs. Their experience brought them closer together and made their bond even deeper. They knew that life would have challenges ahead, but they also believed that by facing those challenges with courage, they could overcome anything. As time passed, the boutique's name slowly began to recover, but the lessons from the incident stayed with them and their customers. The company's new training and policies became an example for others in the retail industry. They showed that businesses have a responsibility not only to sell products, but also to respect and protect their customers. The city where Amara lived also took steps to promote equality. Local leaders introduced new programs to address discrimination and support diversity. Schools received funding for anti-bias education, and community centers offered workshops to help people understand different cultures. These efforts helped create a more welcoming and inclusive environment for everyone. Looking back, Amara's journey was a powerful story of how one difficult moment can change many lives for the better. It was a story about pain, courage, and healing. But most importantly, it was a story about hope. A hope that by standing up and speaking out, people can help build a world where everyone is treated fairly and with respect. Even though the incident started with something terrible, it ended with something beautiful. It brought people together, raised awareness, and inspired change. Amara's bravery showed that no matter how young or small you feel, your voice matters. You can make a difference. The family's story continued to inspire others to stand against injustice and to believe in the power of kindness. It reminded everyone that change begins with understanding, courage, and the willingness to speak the truth. And through their journey, Amara and her family taught a timeless lesson: that love and justice will always shine brighter than hate and fear.